I am Mahpuja Melani.
I'm Melania Satuku.
My name is Purwaini Syagian. I'm from group Tictokers.
In this video, we will explain about our material about phrase and sentences. First speaker is Mahpuja Melani. Will be explained about alliterations, contractions, and reduced forms. Okay, please listen carefully to Mahpuja Melani material. Check this out.
I will explain. The first is alliteration. Alliteration is conspicuous repetition of identical initial consonant sound in successive or closely associated syllable within a group of words, even though spelled differently. For example, is but a better butter make a butter better, and a big bully beats a baby boy. Both sentences are alliterative because the same first letter of word is B, occurs close together and procedure alliteration in a sentence. An important point to remember here is alliteration does not depend on letters but on the sound. And the second is reduced forms. Reduced forms are words that are not written in English but that are frequently used by native speakers. It's important to be able to recognize them so you can understand spoken English and sound more natural when you speak. When speaking informally, people often reduce or contract sound. Most commonly, the words that are important to the meaning of a statement will remain unchanged, but words that link or are functional will be shortened. For example, is I could have done that. You should have said something. To pronounce every word clearly and separately may sound very formal. It would be more typically produced as. And the last is contraction. Contraction is a fill in the blank phrase which features a target word or expression. For example, is yesterday I went to the blah 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 blah. Contraction help remove hesitation in speech, which is the key characteristic of fluency. Also, contractions mimic how the brain organizes language. If you continue to do this with all the main contractions of the language, eventually you will develop general fluency. I think enough for my explanation.
Okay, and the second speaker is Lani Daryati Hasibuan. It's me. Will be explained about slogans, idioms, and idiomatic comparison. Here I want to explain about my material about slogans, idioms, and idiomatic comparison. For the first, I want to explain about slogans. We know that slogans is a phrase that are impressive and memorable. Slogans is a motto or phrase used to express an idea or aim that is easy to remember. Speech slogans aim to convince or enliven viewers' enthusiasm. For example of slogans is the first, now or never, and the second, never ever give up, and the third, happiness cannot both buy money. The second my material is idioms. Idioms is a phrase or sentence whose meaning cannot be understood word by word, but through the understanding of the whole phrase or sentence and the native language sense. Idiom is an expression that takes on a figurative meaning when certain words are combined, which is different from the literal definition of the individual words. Okay, for example about idioms is the first, up and coming. It means rising. And the second, no crying over spilled milk. It means do not be upset about something that cannot be changed. Okay, and the third is as happy as a clam. It means pleased, very content or very happy. My material about idiomatic comparisons. Idiomatic comparisons is a phrase or sentence in which it has a unity of form and meaning. Idiomatic comparisons intended to enrich or reinforce the message. For example, about idiomatic comparisons is the first, look at the Japanese. They are always as busy as a bee. The second is that guy is as slippery as an eel. Okay, for the third speaker is Melinia Savitri. Will be explained about rhythm, repetition, and antithetic sentence.
Okay, I will explain about rhythm. Rhythm is formed from sounds and silence. Sound and silence are combined to form repetitive sounds patterns to create rhythm. Rhythm has a regular tempo, but can have various types. Some beats can be stronger, longer, shorter, or slower than others. The example: young woman, you are the hope of the country. On the next, repetition. Repetition is the literary device that repeats the same word or phrase a few times to make an idea clearer and more memorable. There are several types of repetition commonly used in both prose and poetry. Example: I hope I like this cake. I hope I will get it. And the next, antithetic sentence. Antithetic sentences are sentences that contain conflicting or contrasting ideas. Example like, we live not for eating, but we eat for life.
Okay, for the last speaker is Nurul Aini Siagian. Will be explained about epigram, proverbs and wise words, and quotations.
Now I will explain about epigram, proverbs, and wise words and quotations. First, epigram. Epigram is a short but insightful statement of in versive form which communicate a thought in a witty, paradoxical, or funny way. For example, there is only one thing in the world worse than being talked about, and that is not being talked about. This epigram speaks to the idea that being gossiped about may seem bad, but being completely ignored often feels even worse. Readers would expect the opposite of a bad thing to be good, but in this case, the opposite is even worse. This statement illustrates the paradoxical side of many epigrams. And the second, proverbs and wise words. Proverbs and wise words that fit the topic of the speech and hit the hearts of the viewers have a great persuasion power. As with the epigrams, proverbs and wise words contain valuable message. For example, when you think of giving up, that's actually a failure. So, this example contains valuable message like the definitions. And the next, quotations. Quotations is a phrase that contains value. message and meaning as a result of expression can come from various groups, status, or professions, punctuations in a speech the same as proverbs and wise words. Example: suppose you want to challenge the following statement made by John Doe, a well-known historian. A simple quote at the beginning of World War II. Almost all Americans assumed the war would end quickly. If it is especially important that you formulate a counter-argument to this claim, then you might wish to quote the part of the statement that you find questionable and establish a dialogue between yourself and John Doe. You can make the quotes like this. Historian John Doe has argued that in 1941, almost all Americans assumed the worst would end quickly. Parentheses do 20.
Okay, I think enough for our presentation about phrase and sentence. Thank you for your attention and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.